As I boarded the luxurious cruise ship, the SS Oceanic, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. It had been a long and grueling year as a detective, and I was looking forward to a little rest and relaxation. The ship was magnificent, with gleaming white decks and sparkling chandeliers. The staff were all impeccably dressed and went out of their way to make sure everything was perfect for the passengers. I made my way to my cabin, which was located on the upper deck. It was a spacious room with a comfortable bed and a private balcony with a stunning view of the ocean. As I settled in, I noticed a jar of pickles sitting on the nightstand. I grinned to myself, knowing that this was a gift from Captain Thomas, who knew of my love for the tasty snack. I decided to unpack my things and then take a stroll around the ship. There was so much to see and do, from the swimming pool to the fitness center to the endless array of dining options. As I walked around, I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment wash over me. This was exactly what I needed, a break from the stresses of my job and the opportunity to just relax and enjoy myself. But little did I know, this idyllic vacation was about to be shattered by a shocking murder. The morning after the ship set sail, I was awoken by a knock on my cabin door. Groggily, I answered it to find one of the ship's crew members standing there, a look of concern on his face. "Detective Smith," he said urgently. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but we have a problem. There's been a murder on the ship." I sat up straight in bed, my detective instincts kicking in. "Tell me everything," I said. The crew member explained that the body of a woman had been found in the wheelhouse, bound to the steering wheel with rope. She had been beaten to death with a toilet from one of the ship's cabins. I quickly got dressed and made my way to the wheelhouse, where I found a scene of chaos. The crew were milling about, looking shocked and upset, while a group of passengers huddled in a corner, murmuring to each other in alarm. And then there was the body. The woman was bound to the steering wheel with rope, her head bloody and battered. It was a gruesome sight, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of disgust and horror at the savagery of the attack. I immediately began to assess the scene, taking note of the clues and trying to piece together what had happened. It was clear that this was no ordinary murder. There was a message here, and I was determined to figure out what it was. As I examined the body of the victim, I noticed something strange. There was a toilet nearby, covered in blood and fingerprints. It was clear that this was the murder weapon, but why would someone use a toilet to kill someone? I had my team dust the toilet for prints and run them through the database, hoping to get a hit on a suspect. In the meantime, I decided to interview the crew and passengers to see if anyone had noticed anything unusual on the ship the night before. As I worked my way through the list of potential witnesses, I couldn't help but feel a sense of frustration. No one seemed to know anything, and I was no closer to solving the case. But then I had an idea. I remembered that I had a unique skill that might be able to help me in this investigation: my sense of smell. I had always been able to pick up on subtle scents and clues that others might overlook, and I thought it was worth a try in this case. I went back to the toilet and took a deep sniff, trying to pick up on any odors that might be connected to the murder. And to my surprise, I was able to detect a faint smell of pickles. This was a strange and unexpected clue, but I knew that I had to follow it. I pulled out my jar of pickles and began to munch on one as I continued my investigation. And as I delved deeper into the case, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. I had a feeling that I was getting closer to the truth. As I stood in the wheelhouse, munching on a pickle and sniffing the toilet, I knew that I was taking a risk. But I was desperate to solve this case, and I was willing to do whatever it took to find the killer. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to pick up on any additional clues that might be hidden in the scent of the pickles. And to my surprise, I was able to detect a faint hint of age. The pickle juice on the toilet was not fresh, but rather, it was several days old. This was a significant clue, and I knew that I had to follow it. I decided to take things one step further and lick the toilet, hoping to get a better sense of the age of the pickle juice. It was a strange and disgusting act, but I was able to determine that the pickle juice was at least a week old. This meant that the killer had been planning this murder for some time, and had likely brought the pickles on board the ship specifically for this purpose. I had a hunch that the pickles were somehow connected to the killer, and I knew that I had to find out how. I began to question the crew and passengers about their pickle consumption, hoping to find a lead. And as I delved deeper into the case, I couldn't help but feel a sense of determination. I was getting closer to the truth. As I continued to investigate the pickle connection, I received some shocking news. Jose, the ship's bartender, and Mark, the chief engineer, came to me with a startling revelation. They had overheard the killer trying to frame me for the murder. According to Jose and Mark, the killer had spread a rumor that I had been seen arguing with Susan, the victim, on the night of the murder. They had even planted a pair of my gloves near the scene of the crime, hoping to make it look like I was the one responsible. I was shocked and bewildered by this news. I had no idea who would want to frame me for this murder, and I was determined to find out who was behind it. As I questioned Jose and Mark further, they revealed that Captain Thomas, the captain of the ship, had a deep-seated hatred for me. It seemed that he had never forgiven me for kissing Susan on New Year's Eve, and he had been waiting for an opportunity to get back at me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Captain Thomas was a respected and well-liked man, and I had always thought of him as a friend. But now, it seemed that he was the one behind the murder and the attempt to frame me for it. I knew that I had to confront Captain Thomas and get to the bottom of this. I was determined to clear my name and bring the real killer to justice. As I confronted Captain Thomas in his cabin, I could see the guilt written all over his face. He knew that I had figured out the truth, and he knew that he was caught. "It was you," I said, my voice cold and hard. "You killed Susan, and you tried to frame me for it." Captain Thomas let out a sigh and collapsed onto his bed. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said, his voice laced with grief. "I loved Susan, and I couldn't bear the thought of her being with anyone else. When I found out about the two of you, I snapped." "So you killed her," I said, my disgust for the man growing by the second. "She said, 'I love you,' just before I hit her with the toilet," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't mean to kill her, but I just couldn't control my anger." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man had committed a heinous crime, all because of petty jealousy over a meaningless kiss. I knew that he had to be brought to justice. And so, I arrested Captain Thomas and charged him with the murder of Susan. He was sentenced to life in prison, and I was hailed as a hero for solving the case and bringing the killer to justice. As I looked back on the events of that fateful cruise, I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. I had cleared my name and brought a murderer to justice, and I knew that I had done the right thing. And as I munched on a pickle, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Justice had been served, and I had proven once again that I was the best detective around.